The theory of relativism states that there is no such thing as absolute truth that exists in an objective way independent of what anyone happens to believe is true, meaning that truth is relative and may be different for different individuals or different cultures. It places value in the fact that everyone's beliefs are equal, so it is more correct to say that my belief is true for me, but false for you. Within the theory of relativism, there are two types, cultural and ethical, and they go hand in hand. Cultural relativism is the view that no culture is superior to any other culture when comparing systems of morality, laws, politics, etc. And ethical/moral relativism states that our values are determined by the society we grew up in, and there are no universal values, so one cannot judge the morality of another's actions if not based on the social norms of that person's culture. A real-life example of how cultural and moral relativism interweave is through a class of history students.
Today we are going to learn about the ancient practice of Chinese foot binding. In ancient China, girls would undergo an extremely painful procedure in order to achieve a certain beauty standard: 4-inch feet. At as young as 3 years old, girls would have their feet broken until their toes folded under their feet, and would have to keep their feet tightly bound until their feet healed over like that.
What? That's disgusting. And inhumane.
Now, Ima, just because it is a different culture than what we are used to doesn't make it inhumane. This was actually a standard of beauty back then, and it was not considered to be inhumane in their culture.
I don't care. It's still inhumane to me.
Well, you aren't allowed to judge the morality of their actions because it coincides with the societal norms of their culture.
As you can see, the teacher is explaining a concept from a different culture, but because the student's Western influence, the student is repulsed by the idea. The teacher reminds the student that she is not able to judge the actions of a different culture because of the theory of relativism. Other examples include Western children learning that dogs are served as food in Asian cultures, and some cultures eat pork while others forbid it. The diversity of these practices show that different cultures could not agree with the practices, but because the practices fall in line with that culture's value, there is relatively nothing wrong with them. While relativism is attractive because of its promotion of tolerance, there are some limitations. To name a few, relativism inspires the difficulties of equating knowledge with certainty. You are entitled to believe what you want, but just because you believe something is true doesn't make it actually true, despite the vague nature of the theory of relativism. It does not allow for criticisms of bad things like drugs, witch burning, or slavery because of differing attitudes. It presents morality as a social nicety, so there is no real reason to act moral other than to fit in. Relativism proves difficult when it makes it impossible to assess the morality behind events like the Holocaust if everyone's views and reasonings are seen as equal and valid. And the statement, all truth is relative, is contradictory in and of itself. These limitations inspire some questions. If all truth is relative, how can we measure the consistency of moral reasoning? How important is it to be consistent in our moral reasoning? And to what extent can values alter your perception? The theory of relativism seems like an inclusive, tolerant theory on the outside, but like all theories, it has its limitations. Instead of being used to justify horrible acts like the Holocaust, relativism should be used for its ideas that all people's beliefs are equal.